Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're doing a double upload because I'm feeling good. So we're gonna watch some 6 apartment horror stories animated by Mort, aka Morty, that's what I call him. Okay, let's get started. This story's called Creep Encounter on My Complex.
Before my husband and I got married, we were living together in a mediocre apartment complex in a similarly mediocre part of the city. Now, it wasn't an especially dangerous place, but security at the complex was severely lacking. For context, I once had my car stolen right out of the parking lot in broad daylight without anyone noticing.
Stolen in broad
Another
daylight.
issue with the
Caught.
complex's parking lot
4K.
was its shortage
The
of
sun caught you in
spaces.
4K.
This was
God
usually
caught you
more
in
of an
4K.
annoyance
How
than
can you not get
anything,
caught?
but on one occasion, it had put me in very real danger.
Okay.
I was still finishing my degree at the time, and I had night classes that, in combination with an hour-and-a-half commute, left me getting home on most nights well after 11 p.m. Often I was lucky enough to find a space in the main parking lot by my building, but there were a few occasions when I found myself having to park in a much farther lot.
Alright.
The slot was very poorly lit, it had no buildings near it, and usually had very few cars in it. It was creepy in and of itself, but what really scared me about it was the extended walk from it. As a 21-year-old woman, I had already had plenty of experience with creeps, late-night walks, and unpleasant combinations of the two, but usually those walks were down a street or somewhere more public. Walking alone through this big, dark, empty lot really made me feel like sitting prey. No one had noticed when someone stole my car in the middle of the day. Why should I expect anyone to notice if something happened to me there in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
With all this going through my head most nights to begin with, there was one evening in particular when getting out of my car just felt like a really bad idea. Now, I'm not a superstitious person, but my intuition was buzzing from the very minute that I unlocked my door. I'd only taken a few steps when I had spotted a man standing stock still right by the dumpster near my building. He didn't have any trash. He wasn't looking through it. He wasn't smoking. He wasn't doing anything. He was just standing there looking at me.
What if we could make a difference in treating COVID-19 for your patients at high risk of severe...
You guys are gonna suffer. You're gonna suffer with me.
I was still all the way across the parking lot, but other than getting back in my car, there was no way around him. The dumpster was squarely in the middle of the two entrances to my building, so no matter which way I went, I'd have to walk directly toward it. My keys were already between my fingers, but I wasn't feeling very confident about whether this would help or not. I'm not a strong person, and I'm also only about 5'3". More than anything, I felt silly for being so afraid, but I knew in my gut something was wrong. This man had appeared out of nowhere. I'd driven past the dumpster on my way into the lot, and he hadn't been there. Also, I knew what everyone in my building had looked like, and there's absolutely no way that he would have had time to get there from another building between when I passed the dumpster and when I parked. As I got closer, it became increasingly obvious that I wasn't imagining the man staring at me, especially because as I got closer, he turned his body so that he was always facing me, kind of like a sunflower, just rotating in place, always watching me. Then came the moment when I had to pass him to get to the door. I felt really silly doing it, but I turned around and walked half backwards as I got close to passing him. I left a really wide space between us as I drew near by walking in the grass instead of on the sidewalk, but I still didn't want to turn my back on him. Eventually, though, I had to, and the second I did, I heard footsteps. Not just footsteps, but running footsteps. They were coming toward me, and really fast. So I ran too. I sprinted to the building, ran up the steps to the door, entered the pen as quickly as I could, and then hoped to hell that he wouldn't be able to follow me. I didn't stop running until I got to my apartment door, 3 flights of stairs later. My neighbors were probably pissed about the noise, but I was terrified. The second I got in the door, I told my then fiancé everything that happened between panic breaths, and he immediately called security. While he did, I went to go peek through the balcony window to see if I could spot the man. I couldn't. He was nowhere to be seen.
freaking
When security
forest.
finally arrived, they reported the same. No one was around. I still have no idea what the man was doing there before I got there or where he came from, and I've moved across town since then. But to that really creepy guy from my apartment parking lot, I really hope
you
to
just wanna
never
give you a
encounter
hug.
you ever again.
Just wanted to give you a hug, bro. That's it. That's all that, bro.
This happened about 2 weeks ago, or sometime around the beginning of the month. I, a 15-year-old female, and my 13-year-old little sister were staying at my older sister's apartment for a day.
Alright.
She had just gotten a kitten and she needed us to watch her for a
The
day.
kitten?
So we went over to her apartment one night and would stay overnight, and then the next day until she came home from work. As you can all guess, due to COVID, me and my sister are doing school virtually, so we just brought our school laptops and supplies with us. My older sister had left for work that morning, sometime around 6 to 6:30 a.m., I believe. Me and my younger sister woke up at around 7, and we started getting ready for school. Before my older sister left for work, she had locked the door behind her. This will be important later.
Alright.
There's also a chain on the door, but I mean, it obviously can't be accessed from outside of the apartment. One of the very first things I did that morning on instinct was to put the chain on the door.
It can be.
I tend to be an
accessed
overly
from
careful person,
outside.
so it was just natural for me to do this. One thing that I really remember specifically was that I didn't even touch the lock on the door, just the chain. I wasn't really sure if it was locked or not, and I didn't want to accidentally unlock it. So I went with the idea that my older sister most likely already locked it, and that I shouldn't have to mess with it. I didn't really think anything of it afterwards. Me and my younger sister decided it would be easier to focus if we were working in different rooms of the apartment. So she took my older sister's bedroom and I decided to stay in the living room. Now, the living room is the first room you walk into when you open the front door. The whole space is pretty open into a small kitchen and a den.
Alright.
Right past the den is the bedroom. So me and my sister weren't really that far apart from each other. Anyway, let's skip ahead about 2 hours. My class was just about to end and I started to hear this really violent banging on the front door. At first, I thought maybe I was just misinterpreting where the noise was coming from, and I thought maybe it was someone banging on a different door right next to us. We weren't expecting anyone to be there or anything, and my mind didn't immediately pick up that someone could want to get in for whatever reason. I assumed that maybe someone got locked out of their apartment next to us or something, and was trying to just wake up their roommate. Probably not super logical of me, but I was starting to get really nervous. The banging was extremely loud now, but I never heard a voice. I also want to add that I was only a few feet away from the door, so if someone would have said something, I definitely would have heard it. The banging then went on for about 5-ish minutes, maybe even a little more. I was definitely freaked out, but I decided not to move. I texted my little sister during the whole thing, and I told her that someone was banging on the door. She told me she could hear it too, and she thought that maybe I had dropped something. Then I told her that I was starting to get really freaked out. Then it stopped. For maybe about 2 minutes, there was nothing but silence. I thought maybe that was the end of it, but after that 2 minutes, it just started right back up again. I was still in my math class. My teacher's trying to tell us about the homework, and there's someone violently banging on the door right next to me. I was getting panicky now. I start wondering if I'm gonna die or something, but just ignore it and try and focus on my teacher. The banging continued for another maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and right in the middle of it, I think I heard a click.
Shoot him to the people.
If I could describe it, it almost sounded like a door unlocking. But I thought there was no way that could be it. I'm just being irrational. I start to kind of joke to myself to just watch as the door handle would dramatically slowly turn and then the door would open. Well, about a second later, I watched as that exact scenario then happened in real time.
No.
I froze. The door handle was then opened slowly. The room was silent. I didn't dare say anything. I was just way too scared beyond belief. The door had started to open, but not all the way, because I had put the chain on it earlier that morning.
Thank God you put the chain. And why am I getting hit by so much ads? Bro, Mort!
The door was now at a slight angle so that I couldn't see the person, but I don't think they could have seen me either. I mean, not unless they put their face right through the door or something. After about 3 seconds of silence, the door slowly shut and the banging just stopped. I got up immediately to go lock the door. What's so great about this is that I was so nervous that I just ignored the fact that someone literally tried to break into the apartment. My teacher, peers, even my own sister were all just kind of oblivious to the fact that we were just in real danger just now. After both of our classes finally ended, me and my younger sister started talking about it. She also texted my older sister and told her what happened. We literally just went on with our day like nothing happened, and when my older sister got home that day, she had started asking us more about it. I had started to tell her the story in more detail, and as she drove us home, she had called who I believed was the landlord. So as it turns out, a few weeks before this happened, my sister had called for maintenance so that they could come to her apartment and fix one of her bathrooms. So she thought maybe it was them. When she called the landlord, she asked if the maintenance would give her notice or let her know beforehand if they were coming. She also asked if they would let her know that it was maintenance, just so she would know who it was. To be honest, I don't really remember the woman's response to my sister's first question, but she definitely said maintenance would call out to her or something. My sister also mentioned that the banging was so violent that the door frame had actually been damaged. The woman said that their staff wouldn't ever damage the property. Now remember when I said I heard a click and the door unlocked? Well, maintenance has a key to every door. My sister had her key as well as the spare one. The woman said she would talk to maintenance and ask if they had been there, to which they later confirmed they hadn't. We also asked if the locks ever got changed. They said they were changed as soon as the last tenant left, so it definitely wasn't someone who used to live there and still had a key or something. I really have no idea how this person unlocked the door. It's crazy to me. The woman recommended that if she found out that it wasn't maintenance, that we should definitely file a police report. I think it was maybe a day later. My older sister was leaving for work again. She realized as she was leaving that she forgot her water bottle, and she went back to go grab it. She made sure to lock her door again as she left. She was pretty freaked out from the previous event and was really hyper-vigilant, so we're pretty damn sure that she locked it on her way out. Well, she got back home from work that day and found that the door to her apartment was wide open. After this event, I believe she finally filed the police report. I just really hate that I acted so stupidly. I should have called the police right as that second wave of banging hit. At any moment, I could have looked through the peephole. I could have seen this person's face. Maybe if I had moved or gotten up even just a little, I could have gotten a look at them. But I was so scared that I just froze. I know what I should have done in this situation. Call the police, maybe grab a knife from the kitchen or some sort of weapon, hide, etc. But in that moment, I didn't do anything. I really don't think that I even fully comprehended just how much danger I was in until the door opened. I hoped that if I didn't say anything, they would just leave. And well, I guess they did. I know I should be trying to go easy on myself. Taking that into consideration, I'm still only 15 years old. I've never been in a situation like that before. I've never really been trained for that sort of situation. I mean, unless you want to include scary movies or something. Funnily enough though, I guess I'm the dumb person in a horror movie. I don't do anything smart in the face of danger, and there's also the fact that I have pretty severe anxiety. I've never been formally diagnosed with anything, but I know that I definitely have an unhealthy relationship with it, to say the least. I have really bad anxiety on an almost daily basis, and I've had multiple panic attacks as well. I've missed so much school, and at one point I even went to see a therapist about it when I was 13. I was tested on the adult anxiety test, and my therapist actually told me that it was concerningly high. So to say that I can't properly deal with emotions is fair. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I didn't do anything. I thought I was being irrational. I'm just so used to thinking that I'm blowing something out of proportion that I assumed I was just doing it again. Then again, maybe I'm just trying to justify my stupidity. I guess I'm just still really annoyed with myself, like I could have done better. The only thing I can really do now is just to hope that nothing like this ever happens again. But if it does, I know what to do now. So far, me and my family have a few theories. We figured this person maybe learned my older sister's routine and thought nobody would be home. Once the door opened and he saw the chain, he realized that people were inside and then left. We also thought that maybe he got in by taking an old key or something and jammed it into the lock, and then banged on it to unlock it. Maybe he somehow got a key to the apartment though. I thought for a while maybe when I put the chain on, I really did unlock the door. I don't think so though. I'm really not sure of anything at this point. These are all just theories and we're not professionals by any means. If anything else happens, I'll definitely give an update. This happened to me about 2 weeks ago. I had started university in September and therefore live in a students-only apartment complex. There's about 4 other apartments in my hallway, and sometimes we just spend time in each other's apartments. I had the absolute chance to lose my keys during the first week of university. It wasn't really a big deal though. I just simply paid for another key. After about a week in my apartment though, I had started to notice that some of my things weren't in the same place as I thought that I'd put them. It didn't really scare me though, because I know I'm a distracted person. On the day of the incident in question, I was coming home earlier than usual with another student named Thomas, the boy that lives in the apartment next to mine. We got inside, and when I unlocked my door, I saw a woman right inside my apartment. As you can expect, it really scared me. But right as I was about to ask her what the hell she was doing there, she then told me, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you'd be home this early. I'm the janitor. I clean the rooms weekly." She then just smiled at me and went out. Now, I didn't even know we had a janitor, but this kind of explained why my stuff was moving around. Thomas then noticed that she had left her keys on my desk and said that I should give them back to her. When I took a closer look though, I then realized that those were my lost keys. The night then passed and I decided to talk to the man in charge of the complex about this. I told him that the janitor had lost my keys and I asked for my money back. He just looked at me in total incomprehension and he then told me, "But we don't even have a janitor." Right at that moment, I just froze. Then who the hell went in my apartment for the past few weeks? Why was she there? We didn't call the police because, nothing had been stolen. But I still decided to search for cameras in my apartment. Because you just never really know with these sites.
PayPal and Venmo touch-free payments, now accepted at CVS stores nationwide. Get a $10 reward when you...
I hate you. I absolutely hate you, Mort.
Psychopaths. I haven't seen her since, and I'm really glad to know that she can't enter the complex anymore without the badge on the keys. So yeah, that was a really creepy experience.
Okay, next story.
I was a high school student living with my mother in a 3rd floor.
Alright guys, you gotta wrap up this video. That other story is surprisingly very short. I'm gonna wrap up the video. I will be doing a stream if I get enough